So Bellator 290 beta versus Emelianenko 2 is coming up, and I believe it's going to be Fedor Emelianenko's retirement fight. So this is a massive card, a very important card for Bellator, and I am going to be doing these predictions very, very early on. So by the time you actually come around to watching this, there might be a more updated prediction video that I have already done, because I'm doing these predictions on the 10th of July, 10th of January, and the card isn't actually away for another month. But towards the end of January, early February, maybe I've done updated predictions with odds and all that. But at the moment, there are no odds, but I will be giving my predictions anyway. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. Lorenz Larkin versus Magomed Berkhamov is the first fight listed on Tapology. It won't be the first fight. This is definitely the wrong sort of order. But Lorenz Larkin versus Muhammad, it was a fight that happened before 5 months ago. There was an elbow to the back of the head. I believe Berkhamov couldn't continue. So, yeah, I'm still going to go with Berkhamov, though. He has fought some really good guys in ACA, ACB as well. Yeah, he's got that sort of style you would expect him to. The ACA classic, you know what I'm saying, with all the grappling and wrestling. But he's a pretty good striker himself as well, with good grappling and submission. Lorenz Larkin is very well known. I don't think I've actually ever picked against him, except for the first Berkhamov fight. I will continue to do that. I will be picking Berkhamov to win this fight here. But we will move on to Darion Caldwell versus Nikita Mikhailov. Nikita Mikhailov, I believe, lost his Bellator debut. He was only like 23 years old when he fought Enrique Barzola. I think I picked Mikhailov. I think I might have jumped into the hype a little bit there, but yeah, he's gonna beat Darion Caldwell. Darion Caldwell has fought very good guys recently, though. He did fight Enrique Barzola himself, Alejandra Higo, and AJ McKee Jr. He's fought some very, very good opponents as of recent, but I do think Nikita Mikhailov should be able to win this matchup here. He was fighting pretty good opponents before in Bellator and also AMC Fight Night Global, which is the promotion of another UFC, of a pretty high level UFC fighter. I think it was Roman Kopylov was the champion there, but I'm going Mikhailov. Caldwell's fought good guys, but I just don't think he's going to beat Mikhailov in this matchup. This one is Isaiah Hokik versus Peter Ishiguru. I do think Isaiah Hokik wins. I will be showing off his wrestling background a little bit more. I did pick him to win his last fight against Mateus Nadir. Mateus Nadir was a lot smaller than Hokik, though. But yeah, I think Hoka should be able to beat Peter Ishiguro as well. Hoka was a guy that I think they brought in to build up as like a prospect, like a Johnny Eblin type, you know what I mean? Who's on later on in the card and build up into his whole career in Bellator, and maybe he'll end up 17-0 like AJ McKee and stuff like that because he's got a good wrestling background. But unfortunately, Corey Samuels, man, ruined it. I do think he should be able to beat Peter Ishiguro, who hasn't fought in 3 years, and that's just a good reason to pick Hoka, isn't it? Ground and pounds TKO after using his wrestling in the first round. Steve Murray, a guy that spent a bit of time in Bellator versus Aliasayev, who I believe was meant to fight in PFL last year, and it just never ended up happening. But yeah, I think he was actually booked to fight in 2020. He was in 2022 and 2021. I don't know what's going on, but he's not getting these fights. But Steve Murray is a new opponent for Aliasayev. I guess Bellator scooped him up from PFL. He was the champion in 2019, was Asayev. But he was beating pretty good guys. Denis Goltsov, I believe, had a pretty good career. But aside from that, I don't really recognize any of the names. I don't think a lot of them have continued to fight with the PFL. Steve Murray's massive for heavyweight. He had the eye poke against Valentin Moldavsky, which would have been a fun fight. And before that, he hasn't really beaten the best guys in the world. But he did finish Rakeem Cleveland, which I guess is pretty good. I'm going to be picking Murray just because Asayev hasn't fought in, 3 years? He's 39 years old. I mean, I don't know if he's been keeping up the training. He's a millionaire now, you know. I don't know. I feel like maybe after he's got that $1 million, I don't know if he's super hungry anymore. So, give me Murray to win. I feel like Murray's the more up-and-coming guy. He hasn't won $1 million in MMA. He's probably hungrier. He's 30 years old. He's 10 years younger. I've got many reasons to end up picking him. Henry Corrales versus Akhmed Magomedov. I'm picking Akhmed Magomedov, and I believe Khabib actually cornered this guy in his debut against Kevin Boehm, but he won't have Khabib in his corner anymore now that Khabib has given up on the coaching. But Akhmed Magomedov, he submitted Kevin Boehm within like a minute, I believe. And before that, he was more of a decisionator guy. He does have a few submissions in his career. He does have the pretty well-known style that a lot of Dagestan guys do have, because Akhmed Magomedov is out of Dagestan. He trains with Khabib and then all that lot. Henry Corrales, those pretty good guys coming off good wins. Aiden Lee and, well, disqualification, I guess. But before that, he did beat Vyacheslav Provodchenko, who is 16-2. But I do think that he's going to get submitted by Akhmed Magomedov or decisioned by Magomedov. So give me Magomedov in this matchup. Naaman Gracie versus Michael Lombardo. I believe I picked Michael Lombardo to lose his fight. I did think Mike Leminja was going to win. And then Lombardo really impressed me. I think Naaman Gracie's coming off that KO loss to Guiti Yamoichi. With Guiti Yamoichi, I can't remember what he did. I think he was like headbutting his punches. And then all of a sudden he just like uppercutted him. Like, it was kind of random. Like he was basing a jab by headbutting the jab. And then he had an uppercut. The video went like around, I wouldn't say it went viral, but it went around the internet. It was kind of funny. Yeah, big step up in competition, I guess, for Lombardo. Maybe step down in competition for Gracie. Gracie, you know, he's not the best striker in the world, is he? A lot of the Gracie guys really aren't, but he does have good jits, and I think he's going to get the submission. So give me Gracie by submission. Jaylon Bates versus Jonah Lugo. This is an interesting fight, but I do believe that Jonah Lugo wins. I think Jaylon Bates had a very competitive fight with the guy that he should have beaten recently. He did, Mark Coates. And when I was watching that fight, I was thinking, man, Jaylon Bates maybe ain't the guy for Bellator to be putting all their money behind it. Now I think that's what they're kind of doing. They're giving him Jonah Lugo, and if Jonah Lugo wins, they can put a bit of promotion behind him, give him more favourable matchups, this and that. He did lose to Danny Sabatello. I did pick Danny Sabatello to win that. A lot of people were on the Lugo side though, but I do think Lugo will beat Jaylon Bates. Jaylon Bates is a pretty good grappler. Yeah, he gets a lot of submissions, but they fight against Mark Coates went the distance, and it was quite competitive, and it probably shouldn't have been. So give me Lugo to win. I like him in this matchup. Grant Neal versus Carl Albertson. Carl Albertson has really let me down, man. I really thought Carl Albertson was... I was saying the UFC should have signed Carl Albertson. This guy's really good. UFC should have signed him, and then he lost by submission to Carl Moore. And I don't even think it was that good of a showing either. He made me look so stupid, man. Like, he really did. Grant Neal, though, is a guy that I think Bellator has been building up for a long time. Yeah, he's in the Bellator for a while. And then he fought Alex Polizzi, had a very competitive fight with him. Beat Christian Edwards, who was a guy that I think the Bellator was putting a bit of time behind, and then he lost to the big tuna. But I think... Oh no, do I do it again? Do I do it to myself? Do I pick Albertson again? I like Albertson's grappling in this fight. Grant Neal's pretty dangerous on the feet and on the ground. Oh, I think they're using this fight to promote Grant Neal. I'm going to go Grant Neal by submission. I like Albertson's a good grappler too, though, because that's the thing. Grant Neal's going to initiate the grappling, but Albertson's also got good grappling, which is why I don't really mind the fight. And another fight which is going to throw me off is Max Roshkov taking on Chris Gonzalez. Come on, go there. I'm picking Max Roshkov. Is it a fight I'm that confident in? Not really. Max Roshkov was on like a 5-fight submission streak, and then he took a very short notice fight against Austin Hubbard. I think he retired on the stool in the first or second round after getting beaten up a little bit, and then Dana was like, this guy's never gonna be a fighter, he's never gonna make it, this and that, and then he come back and he beat Jeff Creighton at Cage Warriors. And then he beat Jordan Bailey as well, so he has been the distance. He hasn't fought in over a year. And Chris Gonzalez is going to be a good test, because Chris Gonzalez has only lost to pretty good guys, like Usman Magomedov, obviously champion, and Guiti Yamoichi. So you're telling me we're going to put Max Roshkov in the same conversation as Guiti Yamoichi and Usman Magomedov? I think we are. Max Roshkov by submission's the pick. He submitted a lot of guys in the first round, not the best competition in the world, but... Max Roshkov's a good grappler. He's definitely developing. He's getting better. I'm happy Bellator picked him up. I really am. This next one here, I'm really considering the underdog, or who I'm going to assume is the underdog in Alejandra Lara, because Diana Evserovka as Grova just doesn't really impress me that much, man. Like, I don't know. I see Diana's fights, and I'm just like, man, like, you know, like, she's not looking that good. Like, she's... winning a very close decision to Kyra Vitara. She split decision win over 2-2 opponent, and just like... And Alejandra Lara, her 3-fight losing streak is to Kana Watanabe by split decision. Deanna Bennett, who's pretty good right now. Lara Joanne, who's pretty good at the moment as well, and she's got wins over, okay, not the best opponents, but, oh man, like, do we pick Evsogorova in this one? I don't know. I'm going to anyway, because I feel like Bellator knows what they're doing with these matchups. They're obviously trying to build up Evsogorova to have like an 8-0, 9-0 record or something like that. This week's one here is Ethan Hughes. Big step down in competition for Ethan Hughes. I believe he beat Mahmoud Fawzi Sebi by ground and pounds. I think he had another matchup booked that was going to be favourable to him, but he's fighting a guy that I don't think he's fought in years. I was going to say, he hasn't fought in a long time. He hasn't fought in 3 years. And Yusuf Karakaya, can I trust that? Not really. Ethan Hughes is 21 years old. He's going to be one of those guys that Bellator builds up. They're going to build him up over a long time. He had an amateur record as well where he went 5-0. Yeah, he had a fight against Kevin Hand. That's the fight I was talking about. I believe this was a fight which he was very favoured to win as well, but it would have been a good fight, 2-0 versus 2-0. But Karakai hasn't fought for 3 years. Ethan Hughes is a good wrestler, good ground and pound, obviously. That's how he won his last fight, I believe. And yeah, should get it done. Sabah Hamasi versus Brennan Ward. This is going to be a banger, man. Sabah Hamasi's in good fights. I'm waiting. My laptop. Just come on. That's what I was waiting on. I was waiting to right click it so I could open it in the new tab. Because that's what I like doing. I don't like having to go back and this and that. I like opening things in the new tab. Sabah Hamasi had a very unsuccessful UFC run. He went 0-3, and I think he got knocked out in every one of those. So he lost to Tim Means, and then he got knocked out by Abdul Razak Al Hassan, but I think he complained about the finish. So he just fought him again and got knocked out again. Oh, why did you do that? And then he got cut. Like, what was he thinking? And then after that, he actually come into Bellator and fought some really good guys. Like, he beat Curtis Melenda and the very experienced Bobby Volker. And then he knocked out, not finished Jaleel Willis and knocked out Makomed Mendonca. So he's really turned his career around since that pretty sad UFC run, let's be honest. But this is going to be a banger fight, man. Brennan Ward, I believe he came back after a long time off. Yeah, he did. A long time off, about 4 years, with Brandon Bell, and knocked out Brandon Bell, like, obviously, because it was set up when low-key. But Cassius Kane, I thought... I'm such an idiot. I picked Cassius Kane to win. Cassius Kane had really good wins on his record, and I just wasn't that sold about Brennan Ward's big return, because he had fought once in 5 years, you know what I mean? It was a guy he was meant to beat. But now it's Sabah Hamasi, and I like Sabah Hamasi. Sabah Hamasi's hittable. He's always in wars. He always gets KOs. I think he's going to knock out Brennan Ward. So give me Sabah Hamasi to win this matchup here. I think Sabah gets it done. I like Sabah. He's actually quite a cool guy. So Sabah Hamasi by KO. This one is Johnny Eblin versus Anatoly Tokov. This is a somewhat short notice put together fight because I think it was only put together a few weeks ago because we lost a pretty big fight. Where is it? Vadim Nemkov versus Yoel Romero. I think it's because Nemkov. Yeah, something's wrong with Nemkov. But Eblin versus Tokov. This is a good fight, man. And Anatoly Tokov's got a really good record. But I like Johnny Eblin in the matchup. Mainly based off his last performance. I was very impressed with him. If I hadn't seen the Gegard Mousasi fight, I probably would have been pretty intrigued to pick Anatoly Tokov in the matchup. That he's not really beating the guys that he should be to show that he's going to beat Johnny Eblin, is he? Like, he's fought, 4 times in 4 years? 5 times in 4 years, you know what I mean? Like I say, Johnny Eblin's 12-0. He's one of those guys that Bellator signed very, very early on into his career. And they built him up big time. Like, he was 5-0, 4-0. And then he come into Bellator and just beat not the best guys, but increasingly good levels of competition. And he beat John Salter, and then he fought Gegard Mousasi, he was an underdog, and he beat Gegard Mousasi. And now he's fighting Anatoly Tokov. And I think he does beat Tokov, man. Johnny Eblin's wrestling really impressed me. His striking's pretty good as well. He's just a well-rounded fighter, and he's obviously making really good improvements training out of the big German American top team. And he's been, Bellator's treated him well over the course of his whole Bellator career. They really built him up as a guy that is going to become something in Bellator. And now he's the champion. And if he defends Anatoly Tokov, that's a very legit title defense. And if he defends against other ranked Bellator fighters, I think we really could put Johnny Eblin in the conversation as, top 10 best middleweights. I don't know if you can put... I think you probably put him top 10 best middleweights right now. Maybe top 5 best middleweights on the planet if he beats Tokov and someone else, you know what I mean? And you could really start making an argument if he continues really building on that record. Maybe goes 15-0 against crazy guys. But yeah, I think Eblin wins. I think he beats Tokov. Now the next one is Ryan Bader versus Fedor Emelianenko. This is a rematch from 4 years ago. I just think they could have done better, man. They could have done Fedor better. Junior Dos Santos, I know he popped his shoulder out, but Fedor's fought 3 times in, 4 years? I think he could have waited for Junior Dos Santos. Like, surely Bellator would have been like, hey, like, let's just do a one-off with Junior Dos Santos, like, former UFC champion versus Fedor. That's a cool fight. Or, oh man, I'm trying to think about other names that aren't signed. The problem is the guys that I think about that would have been really cool fights are signed to the UFC. Like, even like Andrei Arlovsky versus Fedor would have been a fun giveaway fight. Not really a pay-per-view draw though. I feel like Junior Dos Santos versus Fedor would have been a draw. Not this is a pay-per-view. I think it's on CBS, but I just think they could have done a little bit better. They could have done him a little bit better than Ryan Bader, because it's at heavyweight too, isn't it? And yeah, Ryan Bader's a lot more dangerous at heavyweight than he is at light heavyweight. I think Bader needs to stay at heavyweight for the future of his career. I just don't like Bader at light heavyweight. Especially at this point, he's almost 40 years old now. They could have just done Fedor better, man. Like, oh, I want him to win so bad. I really do. But I was watching his fight. Who was it against? It was Chael Sonnen. I was watching Chael Sonnen fight, and I was like, oh, like that win doesn't really look that good, does it? Like Chael Sonnen was on the back of Fedor. Honestly, it's like 3 minutes 20 into the first round, and he gets the back of Fedor. Probably could have locked in a rear naked choke, and then he just kicks his legs over Fedor, does like a somersault on top of Fedor, ends up on bottom, and he chows Sonnen, and then Fedor starts raining ground and pound and almost knocks him out on the ground. Oh, you've got to watch it. It's on YouTube. Bellator posted the video of the whole fight. Go 3 minutes 20 of the first round. Oh my god, it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. But I think Darth Vader, Ryan Bader does get the knockout. Emelianenko got knocked got knocked out by him 4 years ago, and he's 46 now, man. And oh, it's Fedor, man. I really want Fedor to win. It would be such a good story, such a good ending. I just wish he fought someone like just a little bit like better for his final fight. Like, he's fighting Ryan Bader as his retirement fight. Like, come on, man. Junior Dos Santos would have been it, but Junior Dos Santos got injured, and it's give me Ryan Bader. Unfortunately, by knockout, man. He knocked out Fedor in the first round, and Fedor's 46. You know, he's not gonna be making the big improvements. You know what I mean? He's not gonna be making crazy big improvements. At this point in his career, and he even got knocked out by Matt Mitrione, with like the weirdest Bellator run like ever, and yeah, he just hasn't fought that often, has he? He took 3 years off between 2012 and 2015. I think he might have retired then. I'm not a Fedor expert, by the way, but like, he's just 46, you know, and he's just got knocked out by Ryan Bader, and it's just. Damn, that's tough, isn't it? But I'm going to be going Ryan Bader by KO. I'll see you in the next video. I think it's been like 6 minutes or so talking about Fedor and Bader, but it makes sense. I'll see you in the next one.